Hi, I'm Jennifer Hollick with the World War II Research and Writing Center, and I wanted to share some resources with you since everybody is at home right now. It's the 25th of March, 2020, and share resources and talk a little bit about the American Graves Registration Service for World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Now, if you're interested in learning much more than I can tell you in this short video, I do have some webinars on the WWIEducation.com site. The link for that is in the bio, in my Linktree link. I have an IDPF class that I recently reduced the price on. It has over 27 different downloads of online books and IDPFs and a lot of information to help you move through what's in these amazing files for our war dead and how to best use them. These classes can also be used with your kids if they are old enough to process this kind of information and they're interested in World War II. What I teach in these classes and webinars, while World War II focused, can also be used for World War I, Korea, and Vietnam. So if you had somebody who died while in military service in any of those wars, all of the information is relevant. Now, when you are looking for information on those who died, for World War I, you want to access the World War I burial file. That is held at the National Personnel Record Center in St. Louis, which of course right now is closed. But you can see some examples on my website, the World War II Research and Writing Center. The link is in the bio. Go under Research Resources, and there are some World War I and World War II record examples that you can access there to see. The World War I burial file became the Individual Deceased Personnel File, or the IDPF, by World War II, and that was also used in Korea and Vietnam. The pages of the records are very similar. They're a little bit more detailed in the IDPF, and whether you're looking at an IDPF for the Army, Army Air Forces, or later the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the Merchant Marines, or the Navy, they're all very similar. Now, the Navy and the Marines will often have some sort of death certificate type of record. It's not what we see in America as a death certificate, but it is a form of that. The other branches don't do that. With Navy, Marine Corps, Merchant Marines, and Coast Guard, you'll often find a photograph of the individual in the IDPF also. Those are available through the National Personnel Record Center or Fort Knox. If you go into my website, World War II Research and Writing Center.com, under educational articles, there are some articles on how to access the IDPFs, because not all of them are available right now, and some you have to wait several years to get because of everything that's going on the last 5 years with those records. But the most current access details are in those website articles. If you are looking for some other resources to learn more, and especially if you had a family member who worked in graves registration, whether they did it throughout the war or at the end of the war, they didn't have enough points to go home, so they were transferred from their infantry regiment into graves registration, perhaps. There are a lot of different resources out there. Some of them are on my website. You can also look on my WWIEducation.com. I have some graves registration resources there. And then this book, Soldier Dead, How We Recover, Identify, Bury, and Honor Our Military Fallen by Michael Sledge, is a very detailed book that talks about this. And it's not an easy read. It's not something to read before bedtime, but it will give you quite a lot of information from starting with when graves registration began in the Civil War, moving all the way through Vietnam and today. And it also has a lot of photographs in it, which again are not easy to look at. So you might, again, be very cautious when you read this and be aware of all the information it contains. And again, it's not something you'll sit and read through in a few days. It's better to space it out. If you're interested in how World War I worked with burial files and burying our war dead, Lisa Boudreau has Bodies of War, the World War I and the Politics of Commemoration in America, 1919 to 1933. That is also a very good book that talks about the history. And she's also got a great bibliography in the back. All of these books that I'm recommending do. And some great pictures. So you'll learn quite a lot. And then for World War II and moving forward, you know, these things were adopted and changed a little bit when needed for the next conflict and kept on going. So that's another great book. If you're interested in specifically for World War II, Joseph Schomann's Crosses in the Wind. I have an original copy, and it's written about Margraten in the Netherlands, the Netherlands American Cemetery, ABMC. A lot of photographs in here. This is actually a pretty quick read, and it talks about graves registration in World War II and the establishment of the temporary cemetery at Margraten and the permanent cemetery, and then the grave adoption program. Valuable book. There, it is available in reprint on Amazon, so you can still pick up a copy. And if you know somebody, or Abe Books or Amazon or eBay has an original version, those are really great to have. If you're looking for Vietnam, this is a book that I got recently and I've barely started. I plan on finishing it very soon and putting an article up on my websites, but it's Bill Honecker's The Dead Were Mine. And he talks about being a graves registration service man during the Vietnam War, and how he, from what I've read so far, the things he went through, the way he had to turn off some of his emotions and processing. And I'm hoping by the end to find out, how did he end up processing? Writing the book is one way. So what else will I learn in here? And what else could you learn, especially if you had somebody in the Vietnam War? What else can you learn about that history? Even if you didn't lose somebody in Vietnam, this book is valuable. It's also very short, so you could read it in a couple days. I wouldn't read it before bed because it is very heavy, but you could read it in a couple of days and probably gain some more context of what it was like for your service member in Vietnam. And that's important because everybody lost somebody. And so reading a book about graves registration and how they handled it and what they encountered will give you a better visual of what your service member went through, which may then help you start to unravel the questions you have, maybe the PTSD that they're dealing with, maybe the way that they express themselves or don't, the way that they talk, the stories that they share. There's so many threads to their service, and branching out into a different topic related to that war can give you so much insight. So I highly recommend that book also. If you have other books on graves registration that have been very helpful, enlightening, taught you a lot, especially if they've got bibliographies in the back or they show records or photographs, please share in the comments wherever you're watching this, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. We would love to hear about other resources, and then I can compile those and put an article up on my website that shows what everybody's said is a great resource. So if you are interested in chatting with a bunch of military researchers, some professional, some hobbyists and working on their family histories, tomorrow, the 26th of March at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time in my Facebook Military Research Education group, I am having a Zoom meeting, and that's open for group members. It's free. You just have to download Zoom and then use the link that is in the event created in the group to access. Everybody's on camera, everybody's on audio, so I encourage you to have headphones with some kind of mic. Using just a microphone like this doesn't work. Either you can't hear or something. So I encourage you to do that so that we can hear you. You do have the option to mute yourself, which I will do as other people are talking, or take yourself off camera, so we'll just see your name, but at least you'll be there. I'm not recording these. We're just showing up and gathering for about an hour to discuss our brick walls, maybe something great we found in the last week, a book we're writing, some resources we've been using, a repository that's been helpful, telling some family stories, and asking questions and just sharing. And this is a weekly thing. Next week, I'll run it over the weekend because there are some people who want to attend that are working from home that can't be on at that time. So in another week, it'll be on a weekend. If you're interested, join the Facebook group. The link is in the bio on Linktree, or go on Facebook, Military Research Education, and hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.